What? Prawn,
Hello?
I do not see you.
He just turned his video off, looks like. There you go.
Okay, so since we're recording, so we're gonna get started again, and
Okay.
I can try this again, but James, I want you to keep talking while I'm working. Let's just get started, and then I'm gonna try
Okay.
to, I'll be working, but for whatever reason,
Okay.
even if when
Okay.
I'm working, it's still playing in the black background.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha. Okay. So tonight, Wealth Elevation Academy, we are proud to have a person that had an opportunity, was blessed to meet 2015, 2016 in the state of Missouri. And the young man, when I first met him, was interesting because he called himself a barber, and we have to call ourselves a business person. And so what I'm proud of this young man is about is because he's seen, been there, and done that, and that he always believed, but he really believed. And now people are floored, and I'm not floored because I knew it was in him anyway. I'm not floored, surprised at all. But he was kind of floored, I believe, by just the and now for a person to get up on their own feet, to stretch out, to realize that success is not rocket science, to be able to go into a financial institution today and not borrow, but withdraw six figures. That's the difference. Not borrow, but withdraw. So that's a powerful, powerful thing. So I wanted to kind of just have him come on. I'll ask him a few questions in a moment, but I want to ask this one question, have him kind of talk about why he is motivated, why he needs no one to say, get up and do it. I mean, since I met him, his drive has been incredible. So I just want to kind of make sure that we understand in the community as a whole. I think that the world needs to hear this young man open his mouth. But at the end of the day, people still have their hands out. People still are waiting for somebody to tell them get up and do it. People are still waiting, waiting, waiting. And guess what? Success is out there. You're not waiting on success. Success is waiting on you. So without further ado, Mr. Gerald Foote from Springfield, Missouri, if you could just tell us again a few things that makes you do what you do every day. In other words, you started out flipping homes, and now you're super successful at it. So I guess in a not necessarily long but short long, but conversation wise, how and what did you decide one day that your motivation continues? How did you decide that? And how did you realize it was already there for you to get? If you could start from there, sir.
Well, when you say young man, I don't know how young you consider young to be, but I'm half of a century. Most people think it, but I'm 50 years old.
Yes.
But my journey goes, way back. I've been working ever since I was like 13 years old. My parents instilled in me the sense of responsibility, at that age. I was buying my own clothes. I go cut grass, referee soccer games, work at the concession stand, keep the scoreboard, for games at the YMCA. And it just, that independence that they instilled in me of being able to buy my own clothes or just buy whatever I wanted for myself is, I think, what sparked the initial drive within myself. Because, having getting handouts was never something that ever interested me. My dad being a pastor, and working a full-time job, me watching his example, I think also was the seeds that was planted within me to never sit and, wait on something to happen for you. So I just feel like the foundation that my parents set for me is the driving force that started it all. And once I got that first taste, it was just on and popping, ever since then. Nobody has to light my fire. My fire's lit. And I think the why for me, as far as what I do, is something that's beyond myself. I consider myself a vessel that is here designed to impact as many people as possible. So my journey really isn't even about me. It's not about me. I do like nice things, of course, just like everybody else. But my what I'm trying to do has nothing to do with me having the fanciest car or have the biggest house. It's definitely about how can I, impact people, change the direction of their generations, and empower others is really the driving force. That's what I'm here for.
That's awesome. It sounds like you too. Now you do have not necessarily a single parent, but your youngest little girl, but your young daughter. What is if you were talking to her and you could go back to, say, you were 15 years old, what's two things that you would tell her about business?
15 years old. That I think first, decisions determine your destiny would be probably number one. That you have to always think about the future. You can't think about the now, because sometimes, a lot of times when you just think about now, the decisions that you make for now are not good for your future. So decisions would be the first thing. And also just to instill the, confidence, within yourself and your abilities, to know that if you see somebody else doing something, that's just an indicator that you can do it too. So those would be two things that I would, tell her.
That's good. That's good. Okay. So what would you say? I guess I have three things, maybe three. This is a three-part answer, but what would you say the three things that you can say that you picked up on or that you've used in your business, picked up on and used in your business? Three things that we have discussed since meeting me. If you think back of conversations we've had, what is three things you would say that you were able to, that you didn't really know at the time, but you went back and thought about it, like, he said this, or I remember us talking about this, or what is three things that you could say that you've used in your business or in your personal life?
Well, as far as things that me and you have talked about, definitely like leadership. And leadership is not telling someone what to do, but leading by example. Not putting expectations on others that you won't put on yourself, I would say would be the first thing. The second thing is everything ain't for everybody. We all have our own journey and our own destination. So what's meant for me might not be meant for the next person. So we all have to find our own purpose in life. Let me see. The third thing, I would say, number three. You got me digging deep on. I would say this: who you decide to spend your life with also is a key factor too, because who you choose can be add to the success, or it could derail your success.
That's right. Okay. That's thing I see, because I know after you had a little incident at the shop, and I remember I was one of the people that you called.
Yes.
And so that's what I was just thinking. Okay, I felt honored that you could reach back and call me, because of the fact of we spent time together there. But it's just one thing that people have to get, is that you have to be willing to be vulnerable with people that in your gut that they're just good people.
Right.
A lot of us don't. We don't take time to realize that gut feeling. You got to trust it. You have to know. Because I'm kind of old fashioned. I trust people until they prove me wrong. That gets you burned a lot. But for me, I prefer to be that way. That my gift is reading people, which is beneficial to me, but I don't just necessarily go and try to wait until you do something. I just, you know what? If you say it's green, then guess what? It's green, and we'll deal with it. It was find out it's blue, then guess what? I have to put you in a different level of conversation, because
Right.
friendship go different areas. So I think that's one thing that I appreciate, the fact of, that I'm one of the people that I feel that you can reach out and kind of just talk, say what's on your mind, and not worrying about, it getting, put out there in the street, or not worrying about, it being misconstrued. So that's what I appreciate that about you as well. So I wanted to say also, Noel, if you have a question, if you want to ask Mr. Foote a question, I want to make sure that opportunity for all of us here. And Gerald, this is the team that we have here, instructors for the school. So top, let's see, my left is Dr. Lee Lewis. She's the one that started the school, created the school in Atlanta, Georgia. And then, of course, top right is Lowell, one of the instructors. And then bottom right, my side right, is going to be Mr. Paran Wetzel. He's also an instructor as well. So I wanted to give Laurel a chance to shoot, if you want to, of course.
I do, of course I do. Mr. Foote, may I call you Gerald?
Yes, absolutely.
All right. You know what? I had a hat like that on just about a half hour ago. If you could see me, I got sweats on the bottom half and this on the top half, because I didn't know how you're going to be dressed. I don't want James to keep showing me up.
Right.
So when I had my little sweat outfit on, I'm like, I know James isn't going to come to the table like that. I better do something.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I have some things for you. And
Yes.
I'll tell you what, I think it's fascinating conversation. And men don't like to be vulnerable. So I'm interested in more of that story for you, James, when Gerald came to you to talk about that thing. We don't know what it is, but I want to know what it is. And I'm curious, Gerald, as to what made you reach out, because a lot of men, and you don't look 50, by the way. I would have guessed you to be about 35. Yet, James, how did you set up a relationship where he would come to you? And Gerald, what made you think you wanted to reach out? Because a lot of men like to keep everything inside and just deal with it. It takes courage to let things out. So I'm interested in what that thing was, even though you may not want to tell me, but I want to know, Gerald, I want to know what that is. And how'd you go about doing it?
Well, for me, I'll start my part out, Gerald, because for me, Gerald's, I met him, like I said, 15 or 16, and people really notice about me until later on. But I don't open my mouth without saying something of importance. I don't just small talk with people. When I talk to people, I choose who I communicate, network with. I choose that people, again, wisely. Again, sometimes you get burned by that, but and I knew when I met him that he was just a person that we could talk and we could communicate. And so I knew, okay, mentoring, coaching, I knew, okay, this guy's going to take in. Now, he might not take in, say, oh yeah, it was great information, but he's when you're talking, he's absorbing. I picked up that about him, and he's processing it, and then he'll question it down the road. Hey, last week you said last week, which is good actually. So I appreciate it about him as well too. So for me, it was it was a thing where I knew he realized after the fact, so to speak, that I'm not just talking to me. And so when I give somebody my contact information, it's like, whether you hire me or don't hire me, I'm still going to be answering questions for you. And so I think he picked up on that. So the interactions are always genuine, and of course we're both PK kids. It helps a lot as well. And so we have a very similar background, and our teams also as well, where we decided to do some interesting things. And so that for me, that's what made me be able to communicate with him on a different level when we talk.
Well, I would rather not go into great detail
You
about.
don't have to. You can call me later and tell me the whole story.
Okay, I'll think about it.
All right.
But you know, the one thing about James, you know, I'm not a shallow person. You know, I like conversation that challenges me mentally. And every time I talk to James, I'm getting meat off the bone, right? So with him, you know, it's rare, I feel, that you talk to people who really enlighten you every time you talk to them. So the type of relationship that me and him established was based off of, they were always very intellectual. When I first met him, it's just like when he walked in the shop, it's just like, who is this dude with this bow tie on, with these
Who is this dude with the bow tie? What's up
shoelaces?
with that?
I mean, the shoelaces match too. It's just like, wow. So it's just like, you know, and then once like you really get to know him, you see that he's a good dude. And it just like, because I can read people pretty well too. So just his presence, his delivery, the wisdom, the knowledge, every time that we talked, like because we would go into deep conversations. So really, that's really the thing that really made me open up to him, because he's not a surface person. I'm not a surface person either. So that's where the connection came, to where I felt like, man, I can talk, because every conversation we have is pretty much deep. So I feel like I can go like how I really feel about something. Like I trust him, his wisdom, and his judgment.
I've got a couple more things I want to talk about, but I want to elaborate on that point. Tell me if you feel this way, Gerald. Sometimes when we go to people, have you ever felt like somebody's coming over you and their thumbs on you and, you know, they're trying to teach you? But what I feel like with James is that he comes under with humility.
Oh.
And the lesson, that he comes in with humility and not authority. And therefore, it makes me want to learn more. It's kind of like iron sharpens iron, because what I can see from you is, I think of you two as equals. Now, maybe the dude's got a lot more expensive clothes on than you and I do. I think I got mine as a hand-me-down, but I'm okay with that. But I feel like when he communicates with me, he's not, I mean, I have this luncheon with these ladies and I always walk there, I just want to throw up, really, I do. Because one's always trying to tell me what's good for me, right? And I always feel like I'm under her authority. I'm like, how did I get here? But with James, when he communicates, I feel like he's coming under with humility, and I'm learning from what he's sharing with me. I don't know if you feel that way or not.
Yes, exactly. It's not critical. It's not judgmental. Now, he's not going to tell you what you like he's going to tell you what you need to hear, but his delivery, like you said, it comes off very, like you say, it's not like he's talking down to you. He comes down to your level, but he's going to always drop them nuggets. And that's what I love about James, a very good-hearted man with a lot of wisdom.
Do you know what my favorite story is about James, Gerald?
What's that?
When he lost a lot of money.
Oh, I know that story.
You know that story? That's a fascinating story to me, because it's how he handled getting taken off his mark. I like that story. I mean, I feel bad that he lost a lot of money, but I'm kind of glad he lost the money so he could share with me how he handled it, because I can't stand losing money.
Yeah.
But I have something else I wanted to ask you about. Your words were, when you said, who you decide to spend your life with, who you choose can add, who you choose can either derail your success, I'm stuttering here, or add to your success.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought about that. I mean, you're obviously a successful man. Has there been a time in your life where you've had to let someone go that you cared about because they were not adding to your life? And if so, how'd you go about doing it? And how'd you make that decision?
Well,
I want to know all the details, Gerald, not just skimming on the top.
Well, I didn't lose as much as James, But I kind of have a similar story, but mine was through divorce. My first wife, which I've been doing real estate since 1997. And, we had acquired up to $1.2 million worth of real estate. And through that divorce, I lost it all. I went from my own construction company, all that real estate. I was getting ready to start building houses from the ground, to living at home with my parents and driving my mother's car. So in that situation, I just felt that it was just better to go ahead and take that loss. And I'm not sitting up here to tell anybody to do that, because that's the hardest thing I probably have ever been through before in my life. Because it was like a public humiliation, because, I live in a small town. So it was just like the whole thing of, how everybody seen me come from nothing to doing very well. And then I just fell flat on my face. So that was a very hard pill to swallow. And it has been one heck of a journey to build myself back up and get back to where I'm at right now.
Did you feel disrespected in the community, or was the disrespect feeling towards yourself?
I felt it was both, because people, I'm very critical and hard on myself, first and foremost. So it was me disappointed with myself, but then also just, how people don't know, people like to just make things up. So there was all kinds of rumors about me and this, that, and the other, and things that, were not true. So the disrespect came from people just making up bold-faced lies. And it, like I say, it hurt, it stung, because, at that time I was just, it like almost crushed my soul. Had it not been for God, because that was the only thing I could grab onto at that time, I would not be here talking to y'all right now.
Well, Gerald, maybe one of your defining characteristics from what I'm hearing is resiliency. And that's a great, great character quality. James has that too.
Well, I will say this. It ain't me by myself. I needed something.
I have one more thing I want to talk to you about, if you're okay. I'm gonna continue my inquisition. If you're okay with that, Gerald, I'm coming back for you. Listen, yes. Here's what you said. You said, my parents made me buy my own clothes. Yes. I had my own concession stand.
No, I didn't have, I worked at a concession stand.
You worked at a concession stand. You did stuff at the YMCA, and you cut lawns. How old were you then? Like 13. 13. Yeah. And you said that the foundation my parents set for me started it all. But when I think about that at that age, that's pretty unique, right? I mean, your friends were probably given things, and you're out there working your butt off trying to buy your own stuff. Right. And I'm sure there was peer pressure, like, why don't your mom and daddy give you this? Why do you have to work all the time? How did you face the uniqueness of doing it your way and building your character versus your friends who were probably given a bunch of stuff? How did you step into that and feel proud of yourself and not wish that it had gone the other way? Or did you come to a realization later on that that was the best thing for you, but you didn't feel it at the time? I'm curious about that. Well, first and foremost, I got an old school dad, so I didn't have a choice. He didn't play no.
Yes, Bishop Foote doesn't play.
No.
The bishop don't play. All right.
No, he don't play.
That could be a good song. We need to make a song about that. The bishop don't play.
That's right.
And but I feel like my natural personality, see, I'm the type of person naturally that goes against the grain. If everybody goes left, I'm going right. Like I have never been a follower. So giving into peer pressure has really never been my thing. I just feel like I'm just a natural person who's gonna follow what he wants to do. I've just always been like that. I just don't. I know I feel like I've always, without even knowing it, that I was like a self-aware type person. I've had, when I was in the 8th grade, everybody around me smoking weed and doing this, that, and the other. I wouldn't do it. I mean, it was, and I'm not saying I'm here to say that I've always made the best decisions and everything, but one thing I don't do, you can't not, if I decide, if I'm made up in my mind to not do it, I'm not doing it. Or if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
So you're the kind of guy that stands firmly on your mark.
Oh, 1,000%.
Yeah. And when you were talking about the story about divorce, what I see you as being is courageous and ready to go after it. Again, I have one more thing I wanted to ask, and that is there a moment where you remember James giving you a tidbit of wisdom that you went ahead and passed on to someone else?
Man, me and him, because see, the thing about it is, working in the barbershop, it's almost like being a therapist, because everybody wants to tell you everything, which is fine. I don't have a problem with that. Now, can I remember something directly off of the top of my head? I can't, because we've had so many different conversations. I cut hair for 21 years. Right. So there's been so many conversations that were had. And like, there's another guy that cut hair in the shop with me named Tay. And Tay was also like James was also like a mentor to him. And I actually also to Rod too. So we've all had conversations about, what, the nuggets that James has dropped on us and stuff like that. So James has definitely made an impact in our environment.
Do you feel like the energy's different when he walks in the room?
Oh, 1,000%. Yes. 1,000%. Like I said, his presence alone is just different. You don't see a James Bond. First and foremost, when I asked him, "What is your name?" He said James Bond. And I'm just like, oh, what did you just say? I've never seen this Black James Bond. About, the movie, and everything. And then, just how he dresses and everything. And then when he talks, game over. The presentation is just the thing that catches your eye. But then when he speaks, like I say, game over.
Well, I'm really glad you're here today. I'm really curious about people, and I'm curious about who you're aligning with and who James is aligning with. And, when you're talking about that you're working for the benefit of, you said, impacting others.
Yes.
You said, I consider myself a vessel.
Yes.
Now, would you have thought that way if your dad wasn't a preacher, or did you just come into that on your own? Because that's something similar that James has talked about being a vessel and changing people's lives. How did you come up with that?
I don't even like. I felt that way about myself. Like as a kid, no, but in my journey, like the first time when I was, buying all the real estate, like I thought that then. I don't know if it's this natural thing, because my grandfather was like that too. He's a leader. My grandfather was a leader of men. His name was Willie George Baylor. He was a pastor also. So you got all these guys that got churches and stuff that came from his tree, and he impacted their lives. See, my dad was a gang leader, right? Back in the day. And my dad just recently told me like how much my grandfather impacted his life. So I don't know if this is something that just like is in the blood, like genetically, because I don't have to try to be that. That's just naturally where my heart goes for the people.
Well, I think you've been a great guest for our first time doing this. I think James chose wisely.
And that's, for me, it was one thing about me is that I never make a choice like that. For instance, I was out running because the first guest I had the schedule conflict, and I was out running. And I said, okay, this morning, actually, I run like morning, like between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning, I run. And so I said, you know what, Lord, I need to figure out who the world needs to hear.
Mhm.
And so I turned the corner and I called, and it immediately hit me, Gerald. Because of the fact of a person that is self-motivated, a person that is very similar to me, where what people think I could care less.
Mhm.
So a person that cares about a young man coming around them, and they're going to say something to them that they hope sticks with them. And is not worried about young men not listening, because some men we ground by their collar. I know that's against policies now, but that's what we do. Still do that kind of thing. So, and a young man that has is raised a young daughter to his expectation of, this is not the kind of grades we get. This is what you're gonna do. So they ain't gonna do. I'm not being your friend. I'm your father. And that's one thing I respected about him, because most people are so structured on trying to not lose their friendship with their child. Your child's not your friend. But so here we have the same concept with that as well too. And so and like you said, just one of those things where I want to he wants to make sure his business, that he's not just cutting hair and now not just remodeling. He's remodeling a home with the concept and the end result being, I want to put this particular finishing on this house because I want to see someone with kids moving his house be able to play over here, or someone's spouse be able to say, this is granite is a perfect match for these cabinets. This is something that I would live in myself. And that's something that most people, businesses, they don't do that. They just want to make the money and move on from it. But for a person to say, I know his brain is like, what I'm moving this house. And that's how he models a house. I always wanted a house with this kind of, so I'm putting this house, I can just make this fireplace pop. I'm gonna just redo this whole house. I could use this particular grade of product. But guess what? If I step it up, he has more profit, but more important than profit, I can look back at this home, drive by here next year and say, see a family or a couple loving this house. So and that's part of the impact of the journey that we're on. Because like you said earlier, he got there early in life, but I got it. This life ain't got nothing to do with you. No, that's not proper English. But this life ain't got nothing to do with you. It's about making sure, like my personal goal is, I want to go to bed every single night empty, void of every single gift I've given that day. Otherwise, I don't deserve to sleep. And once we get that in our mindset, the journey's not easy, but it gets easier. And that's what we got to get that. It's not easy. No, it's never easy, but easier is the goal. And so that's one thing I think. And also knowing who you are, that's a huge, huge, huge thing. Know who you are and that you have a right to success. You have a right to wealth.
What I think about when I hear people talk about all the success that they have because God gave it to them and everything, yeah. I immediately, my mind goes back to a premise that I operate on called lift and climb. So I would ask Gerald, Mr. Foote, if what do you do in terms of giving back what God has given you, like the philanthropist, or who are you out there helping? That's what I like to know.
Well, right now, I've got a lot of work to do. Actually, one of my goals is I want to have a school. I want to have an actual school for kids, and I want to have a trade school to give back. Basically, right now, how I give back is I employ a lot of people, right? I have a lot of people that always thank me and be like, man, what you've done for me and my family, you know, is incredible. Because I treat people right. I don't, my contractors that I deal with, I don't try to Jew them down. They just be fair with me, treat me right. I don't play with their money. I give it to them immediately. And then also another thing I do, I post videos. What I started doing here lately, I would say within the last like 2 to 3 weeks, I've been posting videos, motivational, inspirational videos. I had a buddy of mine, I cut his hair for like 20 years. And out of the blue, he just calls me and he was like, man, I'm kind of like having a rough time and I need some motivation and some inspiration. What you got for me? I went and made a video and I sent it to him. So ever since then, I've been posting these videos every day. James knows. I send him the videos every day. So right now, that's really what I'm doing is I'm just spreading light in a dark world through inspiration. I would say really that's for real the main thing I'm doing right now, but I have so much work to do. There's so many dreams and visions and things that I have on the inside of me that are gonna happen. I was just actually almost 2 weeks ago, I was on a campus that I plan on buying one day. And we're gonna have a community inside the community.
That's good. That's good. James, same question.
What I'm doing is basically making sure that my thing I've done for years actually now too. It's kind of interesting. I go to women's shelters and teach them how to interview questions, mock interviews, and also in past. Also, I got to get back to it now here in Texas, but also too, I would go to children's hospitals and go read to the kids in the burn unit, just make sure that somebody knew about them. And then that's one thing I think, and then also making sure too, because kids are not necessarily my thing, and I understand that. So I don't make sure I don't try to walk out of my lane. So also too, the one thing that I wanted to, Gerald might not say that, but I guess I also can say about him as well too, is that I've seen him go get a person, say it's just got out of the system. Person was the best drywaller forever, but he's homeless, he's struggling, he's on a bike. And I've seen Gerald give that person a shot and pay that person. And that's huge because most companies, he's not looked at. He or she not looked at anymore. They're castaway. I said, "Hey man, didn't you used to drywall?" "Yeah, man, I've been locked up 5 years, but hey, can you still do it?" All of a sudden, now they've been with him for 5 years. Probably got their own place now, even their own car now. That's a huge conversation that I've seen him do that people don't really take time to understand how much, because at 85% return rate, you just took that down to 84.5. That's huge because of the fact of no one's going to say, "Present my application." "Oh yeah, I've been gone for." He's looking at, "Hey, didn't you should paint houses? Did you should?" He'll go pick that person up for work every day, drop them off. And that right there is why that's so, like Dr. Lee, you talk about all the time about that. That's why that's such a thing where it's going to continue to flow his way because he's doing what he's supposed to.
Yeah, that's really important because so many of us are blessed, in whatever way God decides to bless us. But what happens, he really doesn't give that to us for us.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. It is so that we can shine the spotlight on someone else. We can look down and shoulder up someone that needs the help. And I'm trying to remember that and move more in that direction, almost than anything else. I don't want to be thinking about me and what I have and what I need to have and what I need to do. I want to focus on someone else. I really do. I want that same question to go to you, Prawn, but even before you answer, I want to mention that Lael is exactly like that. She takes from her own self and give to others. I said, well, Lael, you giving it all away. Doesn't matter. She has to share what God has given her. And because of that, she gets more and more and more. You should see some of her beautiful pieces. I can't stop writing about her in the magazine. When I say Women of Wealth and I want to publish it, well, I want to see her and Ben, I want to see their work out there. It's just beautiful.
Thank you.
Really. And God has blessed her to that extent. But the thing is, she gives it right on back. She shares so many different stories with me. The people, because she'll pick up the phone and call you and tell you, you need to do this, she will tell you. And she tells me some of the stories how people are so bent on not doing it. And then she has to go there on them. And then she gets the deal done. And that's because she's so willing to give what God has given her. And she will give to the point she's almost empty. Why? Because she's giving it away. And that's what I look for in people. That's one of my first questions is, how are you sharing what God has given you? It's wonderful that you have all of this and all of that. And James, your beautiful clothing, your beautiful speech, your beautiful everything. And then you ask, well, who have I taught to speak like that? And I know quite a few because that's what you do. You mentor people. And, but that's what we want to know. Have we pulled our inner selves, the essence of us, and packaged it and left it with someone else? It's not so much a good thing until you're able to package that thing and deliver it to someone else. And what that does is now you've created a space so God can give you even more. Paran, you're on the.
Well, can you hear me?
I hear you well. We hear you.
One of the things that I realized early in life is that when you have your hand open, you can receive as well as give. But when you have your hand closed, you can't receive or give. And you should always have your hand open, because when you give, without expectation of anything in return, it inevitably comes back to you. And I've been volunteering, for the last 13 to 14 years, volunteering every week, providing individuals with facilitating study groups. Before the pandemic, we would have a room of 70 to 80 people every week where we would provide them with guidance. And now that the pandemic is over, I'm still doing that. And I find out that by giving, I receive more than I give, but people think I give more than I receive. That's not the case, because I don't feel that way. I always feel that I'm, receiving more than I give. So that is important. And as people work together and have shared experiences, that's how you can change those people who are always combative and want to cause problems with other people. You have to be able to, reach out to those people. We're in a society now that everybody doesn't want, have your own opinion. We should be able to have different opinions and still be civil with each other and still, have a good time with individuals. Not where this person said this, I don't want to ever be around that person and argue all the time. And that's where we are. Everything is polarized. And we need individuals like us to help us to stop that polarization that's going on in society today.
Exactly. And oftentimes we fool ourselves. We tell ourselves, well, I really wanted to give this, but I don't have it to give. I got to do this, that, and the other. And next thing you know, you didn't give it. You talked yourself out of it because the perceived need that you have. But again, God did not give it to us for us.
Right.
Gave it to us to give away to others. And he said, you know, when I meet you, I'm going to ask you, did you do this? Did you do that? I'm going to ask you about it.
Can I elaborate? Can I elaborate on this a little bit?
Sure.
So I think even more than just, you know, giving a person a fish, we should also teach them how to fish.
Absolutely.
So I will, you know, as I think about that, like the two other barbers that I worked with in that barber shop, right? You know, because, you know, I lost everything. I had to file bankrupt everything, and I had to rebuild my credit, everything. So you're talking to a guy that filed bankrupt, you know, had a great credit. It went down the toilet, had to rebuild it. And now my credit's even higher now than it was the first time. So the two other guys that I cut hair with, I showed them how to build their credit. And now they both own real estate. There's other customers that I've dealt with. As a matter of fact, I just bumped into one of my guy. I used to cut his hair. Then I started cutting his grandkids and everything. And I was at Walmart, and he was like, man, you know, that information that you gave me back 6 years ago. He said, now I can go to the bank and get anything I want. I said, it worked, didn't it? He said, yes, it did.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I was asking. You know, how do you give of the gift that God has given you? How do you give it out there? And from what I knew, if you were that close to James, that you do that.
Yes.
Because James would give you no peace if you did not.
Right.
Okay.
I just had
selfish riding with him.
Right. I just had to think about it a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, like, man, I really have gave people information. I don't charge them nothing. I ain't trying to look for nothing. But if I can help somebody improve their life, you know, through information, which, you know, you got a lot of people that withhold things because they so insecure.
Oh my
Hold on,
goodness.
and they don't tell nobody nothing. But I feel like that is just not what God wants us to do. You know, there's enough out here for everybody. Me personally, I feel as if like I use the whole world as my playground. So I'm unlimited. There is no limitations on me. So I don't look at it as when I tell somebody something, oh, they're gonna take from me. Well, the whole world is my playground. So whatever.
Yeah, that's right.
And people, you know, it's so funny. They see what you have and they decide, I want it, and I'm gonna go ahead and steal a piece of that for my own self. And then they find out, wow, that did not work so well for me because it was not for you.
Exactly.
Right.
It was not for you. And when you try to take it and run with it because you see someone else doing you think a good job at it, it looks really easy. And then you steal it and jump into it,
Mm-hmm.
and you find out, wow, I didn't know it was like that.
Yeah.
And she's still going. Well, that's because God has given her the anointing to do that. Everyone don't have it. Sometimes you can't do what you see another person doing. You don't have that gift. You don't have that grace to do it.
No. This is
Yeah, and that's why it's so important, you know, to know that, you know, it's like you have to run your race. And that's why it's so important to understand that because you know, one thing Jimmy talked about the barbershop with him, he had some issues, you know, system wise, but so he had no idea that he could even own real estate because the world says you're a throwaway.
Yeah.
But because Gerald's like, okay, whatever the world says, still, this is the process. The world says that you believe that's your business, but I'll tell you the process anyway. and now, you know, again, business owner, homeowner, and he and the gentleman talking about, he even mentioned to me because I also gave him the Richard Kiyosaki's first book, Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is a phenomenal book. And he says, yeah, now I figured out now how to get a duplex and have the one side pay for my side.
Mhm.
That's one of the things. And in the book talked about real estate. How do you get two houses and you rent one out and rental place for both places? And so that just, again, that's just small information that we can pass on to change the trajectory of someone's children's life, not their lives, but their children's life. And
Generational.
and because we don't have a right. Like I said 100 times, have a right to keep our gift. They're not ours to keep.
It's not
So
ours to keep.
I think
You
that's
know,
because you can't give if you don't have.
no,
You've got
it's not
to,
ours. Just give it away. Give it
yeah,
away.
yeah.
Like I said, Lael is just one of the best I've seen with it. I just marvel at her sometimes. I see how she gives her time, her money to others. And we both know one lady, we won't go. And
Well,
I
you
just
you
looked
talk
at her.
about me in a nice light about that, but I'm going to tell you, I like to ask things that are not supposed to be asked. I remember that my coach said to me, Lael, sometimes you just cross that line of appropriate behavior. I got to do it again. I just got to. So my husband and I had the biggest fight in our marriage for probably over 20 years. And it was something I was asking him to check the grocery list. You know, why didn't you get this? And why didn't you get that? It was late at night. And he blew up. He goes, I just made $32,000 in the last 3 weeks. I'm like, what'd you just say to me, brother? What did you just say to me? And I followed him into my office and we had it out. Now, why am I telling you that? Now you're going to think I'm crazy, Gerald. But anyway, here's my point. Is I do believe that when we're at the precipice of success, and what I realized is my husband had traveled 3 weeks straight, wasn't home a day, went to Chicago, went to Charleston. He was doing shows, he was doing museum shows, he was doing just physical labor, emotional labor, and trying to manage a staff and pay our $21,000 of bills every month. So it's scary. Even when I give away money, I'm not really doing it with a great heart. I'm like, oh God, I hope this is going to work out. So yeah, that's how I do it. Oh God, I hope this is going to work out. Oh, I got a lot to pay. Lael, are you really sure about this? I do it, but I can't say I always do it with my hand open. I'm like holding on really tight. Here's what I want to ask all of you. And James, I want to start with you. Is I was listening to these comedians. I love listening to interviews. And Kevin Hart, there's something about that guy I like because he's so open with his life. And he talks about how his mother supported him when he went out in the comedy world, and she gave him a Bible and she said, I'll support you for 6 months. He kept calling his mom and saying, Mom, I need the rent. They're going to evict me. And she goes, read your Bible, Kevin. He goes, I don't need to read my Bible. I need the money. And it was the third month. He was definitely getting evicted. And she said, read the Bible. Don't call me back until you read it. He opened the Bible and every month of rent was in there in an envelope.
Yeah.
Do you remember that story? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's one thing that he said that I really could relate to is sometimes right before our greatest success, just like with Ben, when we got that VA project, that is when Satan attacks, right? Satan would love to pull Ben out of heart. Like, who are you? You're Satan right now, Ben. Look at your face. You're spewing spit on me. Because he was so mad at me for asking him to check the grocery list. It wasn't even the man that I married. He had a really off day, really off night. But then I thought about it because, you know, God says the battles of this, they're not, I don't know the scripture. My husband's a Bible wizard, but it says something like this. The battles that we're going to fight are not of this world. They are good against evil. I'm going to call it Satan against Jesus. Somebody else on this call probably knows the scripture better than I. Maybe you do, Gerald. Maybe you're a Bible wizard, but I'm not the Bible wizard. And so I thought about it and I thought, well, this is a spiritual attack and I'm going to see it clearly because he doesn't act like that. And it was just an innocent question and he just kind of exploded and we're at the precipice of really great success. But here's what Kevin said. He said he does these comedy shows. He's making everybody laugh. His best friends are in the front row. And then he goes to the hotel and he's by himself thinking, He gets lonely, he gets sad. And when you're off, meaning when you're not with your staff, when you're not coaching, Gerald, when you're not working, and Dr. Lee, when you're not trying to start some new business, you know, another business, we are left with ourselves. And so especially I'm interested in a man's prerogative. Parent, you've got a staff. When you're finally alone, there's no one talking to you, and you start to feel sad and lonely and a little bit defeated. How do you come out of that? And please don't tell me you don't feel that way, because I know everybody does. Everybody's got to have those feelings. And I know you're smiling at me, but I know you haven't.
I can tell you what I do. I go home and my wife smiles at me. Okay. My wife wakes up in the morning, she smiles at me. She changes my whole perspective of my day. When she doesn't smile at me, I smile at her because I know she needs to have a smile in front of her that day. And you'd be surprised. Just a smile in the morning is a change in your whole trajectory of your entire life by having somebody smile at you in the morning.
Yeah, you were the wrong person to ask that question to, Ron.
That's good. That's good. That's
you
good.
need to ask it to somebody that have a man or a woman.
That's good. Well, I think I know I remember Gerald remember this or not, but I told him about when I first met them. I was telling him about this a long time ago. But I'll go watch cartoons, like old school cartoons. So my thing, I do at least 30 minutes or more, but that's how I collect myself. Usually it's Bugs Bunny, Elmer Fudd, hunting wabbits and all that kind of stuff. But that Roadrunner, good stuff. So that's for me. That's where it brings me back.
I go and I play. Oh, music is my thing. But one favorite song of mine is when I'm really down in the dumps, beating up on myself. I play that song. Paul, I can't think of his entire name, but he said, "I can't complain."
Yes.
And I start counting the many blessings, and I say, well, if this doesn't happen, I can't complain. He's been too good to me. And then by the time I get lost in how good he's been, next thing I know, all of the water that I've shed, all the tears, all that stuff, it just washed me on up out of wherever I was. Because I definitely cry. I cry in a minute. I'm a cry baby. It will wash me, wash it right on away.
And another thing that I do is I listen to Charlie Wilson. I'm blessed every day.
That's a bad one.
There you go.
I listen to that every day.
I don't know that one. I gotta listen to
it.
His Charlie Wilson,
saved his life, if I remember. Charlie Wilson.
Yes.
I think it was his wife that saved his life.
Correct.
She took him in and did something for him.
Yeah, he's an addict for years. So yeah.
Yes, that's what it was.
Yeah. And then there's another thing you can do is you can have the endorphins in your system. When you get endorphins in your system, those are the happy drugs. So the more you pump those drugs into your system, that'll get out of the corner.
What drugs is that? Where are they?
Endorphins. That's right. That's what I get said at Parag. That's
endorphins.
Dr. Lee's looking for drugs. Dr. Lee's looking for drugs.
Those are the natural drugs that your body produces. Your body produces those drugs.
Yeah,
really?
Exercise. Yes, that's the best way to get yourself into the right mood is produce drugs that your body naturally produces by endorphins and endorphins. Both of those are happy drugs.
Endorphins.
Okay, has anyone put that on the market yet?
Well, the funny thing about that is though, I learned years ago, which is why I work out so much, is because the same endorphin, same one that you get when you laugh, when you work out, same endorphin. Same exact one. Same chemical release when you laugh, when you work out. It's the same chemical release. And that's funny, but it's the exact same.
That laughter is, what is it? The Bible say it's medicine.
Medicine for soul, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it was the same, but it's the same endorphin release when you work out and when you laugh. Exact same way. Your brain don't know the difference, which is pretty interesting.
Right. I think for me, as I've gotten older, I know that a lot of the trials and tribulations are only for a season. And I know they're temporary. I know this by now. Like James, I work out 7 days a week. That helps me a lot. And as I work out, I listen to TD Jakes. I listen to Miles Monroe. I listen to inspirational music. I break the thought pattern that's putting me into that bad mood, because I understand a lot of times that when we're in that funk is due to what we're focusing on. So for me, I try to, it's mind over matter.
Yes.
I focus on the mental aspect of not allowing my feelings and my emotions to control me. Because
We're here
again,
together.
I know
And they will. I really have to speak to my mind and my emotions. My mind, my imagination is so strong. I can
oh yeah.
write a book.
Because it'll snowball. It'll take the smallest thing,
It'll
feel like the whole world is falling apart. And
and then you wonder why me? Oh, I thought it.
right,
Yeah.
right. And a lot of times it's not even near that serious. I fell victim to that plenty times in my life. Then lost sleep,
All
can't
of us have.
about stuff that never even happened.
Well, we're gonna have this after 8 now, so we're gonna
Yes.
have to come back. But one of this discussion I want us to have. Oh, before I go, Brandy, we got to hear from you. You and your mask.
Well, I'm in the hospital, remember? So I have to
Yes,
keep
I
the
do.
mask on and be obedient.
We got
So
to
hello,
pray for
everyone.
Brandy's brother.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hello, everyone. It is so awesome to be here. And just to kind of chime in on giving and the simple things that we forget how important they can be to a person.
Mm,
Give a smile, give a handshake,
yeah.
give kind eyes, and talk to people and treat people with genuine love and respect. I am always so amazed when I'm talking to people and just communicating with them. And I always get these responses as, wow, thank you, I needed that. Oh, wow, you're just so pleasant. Oh, you're such a great customer. And that all means so much to me. And I'm glad that I'm able to part on them. So that's one thing. And I believe in watering young flowers and young trees. And those are the children today, and they are our future tomorrow. So I spend a lot of time helping them find their way, not me guiding them, but helping them find their way, helping them cultivate their own soil. So I'm gonna leave it at that because I know it's late. Thank you and God bless.
I love when you talk, Brandy.
Yes, it's good. She's had some
Thank you,
very,
Leo.
very deep thinking answers.
I want to live in her ceiling though, and I want to look down there and see what's really happening. Is she always this happy? That's what I want to know. Is it
Actually,
always
ask
like this?
Dr. Lee.
Yes,
I
yes,
am.
she always.
I love life.
You get on my
Yeah.
nerves. You always so. I say that. Well, what else am I going to do? What else am I? I say, well, be something else. No, I'm going to be right. I'm going to stay right in this place. That's you if you want to go running off like a wild woman. Me, I'm going to stay right here in this place.
That's it. That's it.
I can't remember.
Well, Gerald, we are honored.
Angry.
We're
I
so
got so
honored, Gerald, that
angry.
you're here.
I got so angry at Chase Bank for some reason or another. And I can't remember what it was. And I know I had over $30,000 in there. I went and drew it all out, every bit of it. And why would you do that? Because sure enough, it was not that simple when I go trotting off to a brand new bank and everything. Oh my goodness. So I asked her, I said, Brandy, why did you let me leave Chase? She said, I told you that over and over. Stop letting your emotions run you and cause you to do things like that. Oh,
That's right.
that was a
That's
mistake,
right.
a big one.
That's right.
So,
Well, Gerald, I want to thank you too for taking the time tonight. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend with us tonight. Again, as we know, time is the most valuable thing we own. So I really appreciate, don't take it for granted that you took the time, and I appreciate you for doing that.
We're honored to have you here, Gerald. Thank you for being here.
No problem. I loved it. It was great. It was an
Thank
honor.
You were our
Gerald.
first guest. That's a special place.
we have the recording of this tonight. So we're gonna put it out all different places and we'll make sure you get a copy of it.
Awesome.
And I hope you enjoyed us as much as we enjoyed you.
Absolutely. Yes. 1,000%.
And don't forget to come back because we're going into something big. We Elevate Network.
Yeah.
Right.
We're just going to talk about all kind of things. And they're going to be provocative topics
Oh,
so that
whoa.
folks will want to hear about that.
Go
Ooh,
get
I
spot.
That's a really big word, provocative. It
That's
brings up a
right.
lot of
That's
different
right.
thoughts and ideas. She's leaving us with the word provocative, Gerald.
That's
what
it.
she's leaving us with.
that's where
That's
we're
it.
coming next time. I really would like, and I'm so serious about that. You got to watch me because I'll go there. One thing I'm interested in talking about, and because I can't leave it alone, is this murder case. My mind won't let me conceive of this guy having done that. It just won't allow me to think that anybody could kill their wife and kid like that. So it's those kind of provocative discussions that we're going to have to make people tune in. Okay, so what are they going to talk about next week? And Lael, you always say, well, I love to talk about what people don't think I will talk about, or we will talk about, or we should be talking about. You know, we're not going to give them the nice, easy stuff. You can't get ratings like that.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I like
All right.
to talk about
All right.
the sad and the dreary and the stuff, the cray-cray stuff. I don't know why, Gerald. It's like it calls my name. It calls my
Well,
name.
yes, I just mentioned one.
Well, I don't even know about that case. I remember one time
You
Dr.
better
Lisa,
look
don't
it
you-
up. You better.
No,
it's
she
the
said, don't you
Murdoch
want to
case.
read this email? And I said, no, if it's anything negative, I got to pass. No,
That's
no,
right.
no,
That's right.
no.
That's
I
Yeah,
don't
right.
the
even know.
world, you have to
That's right.
discuss it to kind of make sense of it.
But if
And
you
you
don't have a
can't make
TV,
sense
you're
of
not
it.
even going to know about it. I don't have a TV. I don't have no radio.
You don't?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Really?
I hope it happened in your city and not mine.
Yeah, I don't watch the news. I don't know either. I don't watch the news. I haven't watched the news since 1993. Since
Well,
I
I
watched
guess
the
it's
news.
the lawyer in me. I'm fascinated by the way they operate and maneuver. And they're out of South Carolina. And I just can't believe the way they are expressing themselves. I mean, they're like telling a story, and everyone in the room is so captivated on that lawyer, the way he's sashaying around there and saying this. I said, and all of them did the same thing. The defense side and the prosecutor side. I said, this must be a South Carolina thing, because I don't remember the lawyers acting like that with me. But I never did criminal law. I tried it one time, and it would have been okay, except I had to go see the client, and the client was in prison. So I had to go to the prison to meet up with the client, the relatives that hired me. Well, I went in there. They do all of that searching. Didn't matter that you were a lawyer or anything. They did all of that searching. I went in there, and when I tell you, you could actually feel the demons running around up in there. Oh, it was awful. It was the worst feeling. Those spirits was just a lie in there. And I managed to behave myself and interview the client, got myself out of there. That was it for me in criminal law. No. Didn't want to.
You didn't want to bring any demons home. You didn't
No,
want to bring any demons home.
But I actually did. I did. That night, when I came in, I was so tired. You know how you just lay down sometime, and I forgot to strip and take the bath. I was too tired. I just fell on the bed. That was so exhausted. Well, in the middle of the night, the demon woke me up. And clear as I'm talking to you all now, he said, guess it was a he, you're gonna die. Just like that. I said to myself, why do I have to die? And now I feel good. I feel fine. Went on back to sleep. That demon woke me up again. I told you, you're gonna die. I said, I'm not gonna die. Okay, I told you. I went on back to sleep. That demon woke me up a third time. Say, now listen, don't you see that tingling you feel in your feet? And because I always sleep with my feet over the bed or something like that, one foot over the bed and the other, just, I said, well, let me tell you something. If it's my time to go, then I got to go. But I search, you know how you search yourself and you're okay in that department, at least during the night. I said, so if I got to go, then I got to go. But I am fine. And when I talk to it like that and let it know, then you can do about it. Your time is your time.
Mhm.
Thing never came back. And I never went back up in there to visit the client no more.
Mm.
I did. I was done with it. That criminal law, because you're going to meet some of every kind of spirit
Correct.
you can ever encounter up in those prisons. Oh, it bothers me just talking about it. So I was fascinated the way the lawyers were handling it. Another reason I got away from that criminal law, and then we got to go. One of the more experienced lawyers tricked me and led me down a path that I didn't know any better being a new lawyer. I think it was some kind of robbery or something like that. But my argument was that he did not have time enough to do what it was that he was supposed to have done. I think it was 1 minute or something like that. I knew I had him. So I thought, just not enough time. And he let me go down that path. And then he got up his terms. He said, now, Miss Lewis said he did not have time enough to do this robbery, whatever, because of the time. He said, let's just see how long a minute is. And everybody got quiet and was just waiting. I don't know, a minute, whatever, waiting. And I'm, ooh, will his time pass? Will his time pass? No, it was plenty of time. Needless to say, I lost the case. When he finished, when he had everybody sit there silently, and they marked off the seconds, you could see it's plenty of time for him to do it. I left criminal law alone. Those are the only 2 cases that I tried, so I left it strictly alone. But that's why I'm fascinated by this one. I'm retired, but it makes me almost want to go back. After watching these guys, they're weaving just a story of the whole thing as we sit there and watch. People came from everywhere, all over, to look at this trial. So anyway, might be going back. I'm excited. You probably
Dr.
can
Lee,
tell.
what do you have? What do you
I'm a
have
little
going on?
animated, right?
Right. What do you have going on for next week? Do you want Perron to do an interview, or Brandy, or you? Who are?
I want to, we've got to interview Brandy. We have not put the spotlight on Brandy yet. And we need to do that. So we definitely want to interview her. And what I like is the way I like it when everybody chime in and just get a piece of the action. Everybody's talking. And
that's why I would have that with him. That's why I wanted to do that style, because there's more questions I might know about too. I have a person next week as well, but we can put that person off to get another week. My person tonight will actually wanted to do next week. So, but we can do it however you guys want to. We can do it.
No, but that's what I'm saying now. It doesn't matter that we have a guest. You want to have about 2 or 3 people on, so that the whole hour is not necessarily spent on that one person. So you want to bring in a different guest. So no, that's fine. And we all want to participate in the questioning. I will have mastered this YouTube, this Facebook and Instagram, because I've learned a very valuable lesson. I just went and hired somebody to do it. It's not worth my time. Sometimes the time you spend trying to figure something out, you've lost more money than it would
Oh,
have
yeah.
been. Just go pay the person and let them do it and set it up. And that's
Yeah,
what I'm
that's
going
right.
to do so that we don't have this problem anymore. All right, I'm excited. And James, I got a question for you.
Yes, ma'am.
And Parad, I don't know if you're still around or not. What is it, or why is it that we're not bringing in more students, James? Oh, by the way, congratulations, Lael. I think you have about 7 students now. And she starts on the 4th, is that right? 7 or 8 students she has. I'm excited. So why do you think we're not? And these
Well,
are people that Lael has in her repertoire. So she picks up the
Yeah.
phone and call them anyway. So what do you think?
Well, it's got to be. I think it's got to be marketing. But for me, most of my clients are majority of them are one-on-one coaching, and a lot of them wouldn't necessarily, this wouldn't be their lane, so to speak. But I think it's just marketing, just trying to figure out where that sweet spot is in marketing and promotion. That's really what it comes down to be. That's why it's always the simplest things that just not clicking at the time. That's
So
definitely
marketing
what I
and promotion. Well, we're going to take this recording and put it in different groups and just, put it over wherever we can get it.
Mhm.
But I too think you're right. That we're failing in the marketing and the promotion arena, and that's going to be critical. But I think having this YouTube channel, did you see it, James?
The YouTube channel? No,
You didn't?
no, I didn't see it.
I shared your screen. Let me see if I can.
Oh,
do
yes,
it.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you want a screenshot? Yes, I
Yeah,
saw that. I'm sorry.
yeah.
Yes,
So
I thought.
we're going to get
Okay.
that just right, and so that this thing can be visible. And with YouTube, you can continuously keep it running and get people to subscribe and all of that. And
Right.
like I said, our conversations has to be provocative. They just, they're not going to listen to people with nice, wonderful, clean, sweet things, because life is not like that, and they know it. And they want to hear the real stuff, the good stuff. What's going on out here with domestic violence, what are we thinking about this human trafficking? You got to address life. And that's what we want to do. We got to work
Okay.
with mindset.
Okay.
So,
And maybe we need to go back and listen to some things like the Breakfast Club and some other groups to see how they do
Yeah.
it. Because they have a lot of strange topics that they talk about.
yeah, that's what we're looking for. So someone will notice us, say, "Oh, you need to listen to that." Like they, what was that show? They, it was so provocative. You knew people were going to be there watching because of the
Yeah, I
things.
think because that's interesting because I mentored a young man who was in charge of the human trafficking situation in the state of Florida. But he's the kind of person he would rather pay the one-on-one kind of as far as class wise, but he would be on the show as well too. Anytime I want, he said he's open to whatever time I pick for him. He's interested because he's also BB King's grandson.
Really?
Yeah, he's in charge of the state of Florida for he does all the human trafficking research in the state of Florida. So we can have him on the
I
show
would
whenever
love to bring
he
him on and hear
can get
conversation
deep into
about that.
yeah, he can get deep into that. He knows those states and statistics as well. So he could, anytime he said, let him know anytime he can come on a certain time you want him on the show. So keep in mind whatever you want on the show, I can get him on as well whenever we decide to have him.
And we want to talk about domestic violence. It always puzzled me as to why the women, they can't get away. They stay there, instead of running away. That's a mindset.
Well,
It
it was,
really is.
it's mindset because it's DNA. It goes back to Genesis.
Hmm.
Especially if I have any kind of faith, you're supposed to bring me in. You're supposed to cover me, supposed to take care of me. So when you put your hands on me, now I'm thinking I've done something or I'm totally confused. So I don't want to run because my spirit and my DNA says you're supposed to protect me. So I'm doing something wrong. So now I'm trying to figure out what am I doing wrong. I mean, it's literally taken back to Genesis, because why would I want to leave? Because maybe I'm missing something. And then the mother side of me says, I can grow you from your issue. Mother's nurturing side, DNA, it's the same thing. It's built in you. So therefore, your brain starts to confuse. It's a lot to that. Yeah, but when I go in the shelters and when you walk, same thing like you said, you walk into a shelter and you just feel all the pain. I mean, it's literally just hanging around in the room.
Pain. It just
Because of the fact of, you told my mother you wanted to marry me, and now after I've done everything I can do, I'm domesticated, I'm cooking, and we have 3 or 4 years. All of a sudden now, one day you come home and I'm on the floor with a broken jaw, and I don't understand it. So my brain does not tell me to fight. My brain tells me to fix it. So
and then you have a lot of pastors. I don't know what they're doing now, but they used to tell the woman she couldn't leave the man. Because divorce is such a sin, you can't do it.
Because they're confusing the word, unfortunately. So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Can I go back to you, James, for a minute?
Yes.
Are you okay with that?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to say it. Might not be comfortable for you, but I'm going to be you for a minute. All right.
Yes.
Let's just say I'm me. So I want you to have students, because I want to come to your class. I'm doing it from a selfish perspective.
Yeah.
I really want you to get students. Every one of the students that's come to my plate have been my coaching clients.
Mm-hmm.
You are a better coach than I am. I already know that. It's obvious to me that you're a better coach than me. I think I'm better at promoting myself than you are, because here's what I say. I'm going to make up a name. Now, here's a person that's coming to class. Juliana, you're paying me $175 for 10 sessions to come see me. Let's add that up. And I add it up. And then I'll say, and then after the 10 sessions, we're pretty much done. Imagine for $9.95, you have access to me every day, all year long for one year. First of all, look at the savings that you're going to get. And then Dr. Lee's going to raise the price back up to $2,500. I know that I'm worth
as
that.
of next Thursday.
Yeah. You get to decide. See, you get to decide, Juliana, but I just want you to do the math for a minute. And the topic, you may think, well, what do I need to know about communication? You're getting me for a year. So if I were pretending like I'm James, I would be saying this. Tom, you're paying me, bro, $475 an hour to learn from me, to obtain my wisdom, to develop your character, all the traits that we've been working on together. You're paying me $475 an hour. 6 sessions is $28.50. And I want us to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
But imagine if you could get me all year long for $9.95. In addition to what we're doing, we're going to stay coaching, but you're going to have access to me. And listen, I'm not just talking about influence. I'm talking about developing your talents. I'm talking about goal setting. Obviously, I'm very good at what I do because I've been doing this for a while, and I'm very, very good at what I do. You know I'm good, or you wouldn't be paying me $475 an hour. So imagine if you had access to me and my teachings for a year for $9.95, not $28.50, but $9.95. And the thing is, it's going to go up next Thursday because this was just a preemptive offer. So you'd be getting James Bond for 1 year. See, I know I could sell you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's funny you said it, because it's funny. I actually mentioned that to 4 or 5 people last week, and all 5 were like, "No, I'd rather just pay $25,500." I don't be honest. I don't top for no school thing. I don't do ever. Yeah. So yeah, but still need to continue to pitch it that way, because you're right. But it's
They said they rather keep paying it.
Mindset is incredible. I think it's just a matter of, like,
see,
my
but they're
coach says,
thinking
they're
money,
spoiled.
and I'm thinking access.
That's
See,
right.
if it's not a money issue, it's an access issue. They get you how often? Once a week? Once a week?
Yeah, once a week. Yeah, once a week.
So they
50
get
minutes.
you once a week. And I mean, all I know is that when I was trying to develop myself, I had Joyce Meyer on a loop.
Mm-hmm.
I had Kevin Hart on a loop. I mean, I had people that were changing my mindset from serious to kind of funny, try to be funny anyway. So they have access to you, Jamie, and your wisdom for a year.
Mm-hmm.
If they're paying you $475 an hour, Why would they not want 24 access to Jane's fund? That's the part I don't understand. I would pay for it.
Yeah, when I pitched, well, for me, when I pitched that, I'm thinking like, they're like, so then of course one of them said, okay, so I'm gonna take, so now your price is not, no. My price is $25. I'm talking about for the class. It's like, well, I said, it's up to you now. No, I want to pay 20. I'm like, because it's more personal. I'm like, it's still the same. No, it's not. I'm like, I want to be in the class. I'm like, well, it's not necessarily a class. So yeah, it's definitely still need to work on a promotion.
Yeah, because it's not an either or. I'm still
Correct.
coaching all the people. Every one of those that are in my class, I'm still coaching them.
Correct.
But they want
so
they
it
want
may
the
be that
access.
using the word classes make
Right.
people think that you think they need to be taught something, you know.
Exactly.
And
Yeah.
so a better word might be coaching.
Yeah, because people get spoiled. I think people get spoiled with the fact, okay, now, like you said, yeah, I think it's just the wording position, because like they get spoiled with the fact, well, no, because when we're on a call, it's so still one-on-one. Then when one person said, okay, well, so if it's still one-on-one, then why am I paying? I said, no. My well-driven life is 25.
Right.
This opportunity for you, particularly with this situation, to go, Lord. Well,
And Dr. Lee
yeah.
is being flexible about this. Like I coach a guy from Xerox. He's worked there for 25 years, blah, blah, blah. And he said to me, Lael, I don't know if I can, he's also commissioner. My Saturday mornings are really busy. I said, well, what about your wife or your kids? Because her kids, one of them's 19, one of them's like 21. And I said, tell you what, Tony, just put your name down and I don't care which one of you comes. He goes, well, if you're going to give me that flexibility, then I'll do it. I did that also with a husband and wife, because he is a pharmaceutical rep and he travels a lot. And he was all worried, they said yes and then no, maybe not. And I finally said, I don't care which one of you is on there. I don't care if one of you is sneaking around in the background trying to listen in. Listen, just start and we'll figure it out. Either Matt, you're on, Carol, you're on, Tony, you're on, or your wife is on. But when you give them that flexibility, suddenly they don't feel so boxed in.
Yeah, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's how I got Tony this morning, because Tony's like, Leah, I don't know if I can commit to every Saturdays. I like my Saturdays. I said, Tony, don't you want a happier marriage? Don't you want to feel better? I said, you're going to get me for 12 months. And he said, I'm going to do it. But I don't know if it's going to be me, my wife, or my daughters. I said, okay, let's just put your last name down and someone come.
There you go.
And we have to get these videos made. So James, I saw your video. It was nice.
Yeah, thank you.
But we've got to get the video made and get them running. It's what's the word I'm looking for? You just gotta repetition over and over and over. Like we gotta put this video out we did tonight. This was nice. And just flood the market with what we're doing. And that's everywhere they look up. Oh, let me go check this out. I see them everywhere. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's right.
Got to do these videos.
You got to find someone, James, because I want to come to your class. Come on now.
Yes. We'll find someone.
And then I get to come. I get to come. That's right.
That's right.
Brandon's waiting too.
That's right.
I think, and I'm definitely waiting.
For sure.
And I want to come learn. I want to learn about the IRS through parents. So parent, get somebody.
Yes.
I want to come. I'm serious.
Right.
I'm saying this.
Definitely want to learn about that. Goodness sakes. All right, guys. I just love you guys. And this is so exciting. I see us growing. And we just putting a little spin on it. And next thing you look, we're going to, this Wealth Elevation Academy is going to be going thriving, full steam ahead, thriving.
Yeah.
Maybe one assignment is we should all look at some group interviews and see which ones we like.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds
Yeah,
good.
we can do that.
I don't know anybody but the Breakfast Club. Does anybody know anybody else?
Yeah, there's a ton of podcasts out there. So yeah, I have to look at, there's one called Go Win, Oklahoma. That's
What is
pretty
it
good
called?
too. It's called Go Win,
All right.
Oklahoma. And the guy's name is Hetty.
Hetty?
Yeah, Hetty. Heady. Hetty.
Yeah, maybe we can kind of expand our horizons.
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right, then.
All right.
This
guys
was
have a
really
great
good.
evening.
Thank you,
Yes.
guys. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to go back into my sweats.
All right.
Okay.
Going back to
Bye.
the real AL. That's what I'm going to do. Take all this makeup off. All right. Y'all have a good night.
All right.
Okay,
You too.
bye.
Bye bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.